Hello and welcome to another knitting pod. I am Lena and let's chat about some knitting today. I don't have a ton of time. I've got a million things I should be doing, but I'd rather be hanging out with you guys, so here we are. Let's jump right into it. Today we are chatting a little bit about summer knitting. It doesn't feel like it yet, but I do feel like a tiny shift in that summer is ending and fall is around the corner. I feel like the infinite days are starting to contract a little bit. The mornings are cooler again. So I definitely find myself reflecting a little bit on my summer knitting. And one thing that I have been thinking, and it stuck in my mind a little bit when I saw a friend of mine, my friend Jessica. You guys know I talk about her all the time if you are here with me often, but she had finished this really cute summer top the other day, a couple weeks ago when I saw her. And when I commented on how cute it turned out, she said, "Oh, I don't know why I ever knit summer tees." And I thought to myself, yeah, like there is this kind of feeling I often get too, that there's like a little bait and switch happening with summer knitting where you feel like it's going to be this quick, fly off the needles project. Like, oh my God, this is so easy. How hard can it be? And for me, inevitably, not inevitably, but I feel like more often than not, it ends up being a project that just drags on and doesn't resolve that cleanly. So anyway, I thought we would talk about the two summer projects that seem to feel like they've been on my needles for a long time. Let's start with the one that's still quite in progress, and that is the As Friends tee. Now, here it is. We've made a lot of progress since we last saw this. I think I showed this to you guys last week. Time folds in upon itself, and I have no idea when I've said something or what week it was. So apologies, but I think it was last week that we talked about this, and I thought I would be done with the whole thing, but alas, you can see is quite far from the truth. But at least I finished all the shaping and the straps and grafted the straps together. Y'all, that is a ton of progress. And I really did have to give myself a good scolding and like, girl, get to it, because I really want to cast on the tessellated pullover. And I am holding strong that I will not do that until this is done. Why is this so hard? Now, let me tell you why this is not done yet. There's a lot of like false illusory endings with this. I feel like I'm walking in the desert and I'm like, oh, there it is, and I'm gonna get there. And then when I get there, it's a complete illusion. There are just so many times with this project that I've found that I find myself slowing way down for one reason or another. And if I rushed, it would end up backfiring big time. For instance, you do the shaping on the right and left front and the right and left back in the exact same way, and then you knit these straps and then you graft the straps together. Now, one thing that I have found, live and learn, the mistake is making the straps too long. And I think that happens because we think it's going to be perfect. And then when we wet block it, it stretches more. When we are wearing it and it's hanging down and that weight is pulling it down, it's also stretching more. So I just found myself so unwilling to commit to a strap length. What I did was, this is the same exact tank top that I made a couple of years ago, but it's far too short for my liking. Another mistake we will talk about shortly. But I have to say, I thought I did the straps at the exact right length. So I was really trying to match these straps to that. So I would like hold them and try to pinch them and make sure. And I think for the most part, did a pretty good job. I think I could have still gone a hair shorter, but I think it'll be okay at the end of the day. I think it looks really nice. I have to say, I really like the width. So finally, when I committed, and the other thing that made it challenging is that dark yarn, I just don't think I appreciated how difficult it is to count the number of rows exactly. the dark yarn and the fingering weight with the little linen bits and the linen quill made it so hard to count the stitches. So I found myself just recounting and recounting like obsessively to make sure I wasn't gonna have like a lopsided project. All these little things add up and it just feels like the project drags on and on. And normally my complaints, or most people's complaints about bottom up garments, is the length of the top, but also it's just the length of the straps and making sure both sides are completely symmetrical. You just really have to work at that in a way that's different with top down. Anyway, so then all that was done and I finally was ready to put the bottom back on the needles and work down. As I've said before, I kind of did it myself in terms of that's not what was called for in the pattern, but I did a provisional cast on in order to be able to gauge the length once the straps were done, because I find myself always underestimating, I think that's what I mean to say, underestimating the length. And I always wish that it was longer. And this is no, I thought I was going to be bordering on too long and it absolutely isn't. So I'm so glad I did it this way. Now, I want to take a little sidebar to say, somebody in the comments asked me if I had concerns about the provisional cast on, like the barber cord that I was using, stretching out that last row of stitches and making some weird bottom row that kind of is like oddly positioned and stretched out. Luckily, that did not happen with this, as far as I can tell. No, I don't think it did. Maybe like just a tadger, but I think it really does look good. So this is a few rows down. I've knit a few rows down and it feels like it did not stretch out. However, I actually do think it could. If you are using a particularly stretchy type of yarn, like a superwash, or I think had said she was using bamboo and it's stretched to an insane amount. Now that just breaks my heart, because unforeseen circumstances, like I don't know, I've never really worked with bamboo. I didn't know it stretches, but that would be a huge bummer. So in that case, I would do what I've been saying I hate, and I still hate, is doing a provisional cast on some scrap yarn, because those stitches will not stretch out. They will in fact suck up that provisional cast on yarn and make it really, really hard to pick up those stitches. But I guess that pain in the butt is worth it if it prevents the stretching. So that is my little side note. I wanted to throw that out there because I've been singing, the provisional cast on song with the barber cords, but there is a time and place where that could go sideways. So I did want to throw that out there. So anyway, now again, I put the provisional cast on onto the barber cords and I knit a few rows. Then I realized, you know what? I'm not going to be able to tell what this actually is going to look like unless I wet block it. So then I had to stop, had to wet block it, had to wait for it to dry. And then when it was dry and I put it on, I realized I need some more length. It's all these little things that add up. It's not necessarily that this project is time consuming or even boring. It's just that I feel like every time I get my momentum, I have to stop to block or stop to measure or count. It's just like a stopping and starting, and it's driving me crazy. And I'm super sick of it and ready to be done, because this is such a cute top and I'm just feeling like I've put so much effort into it. And I'm ready to enjoy the fruits of my labor. But alas, not quite. There are also like a gazillion, considering this is just made out of one color. There's so many ends to weave in from all the various sides. And anyway, that's going to be another pain in my butt. But oh well, it'll get done eventually. But this has left me feeling it is not a short and sweet project. It is totally deceptive. I feel like there are worsted weight sweaters that would go by faster. I feel like this one is dragging on for some reason. The shorts that I made a couple of months ago or a month or two ago, those really did feel like a short and sweet and fun, perfect summertime project, but I didn't run into all these roadblocks in that project. So I don't know if I will be done with that even next week because I'm traveling this weekend. We will see, but it shouldn't be long now, which is what I said about the next project I'm about to show you. You probably forgot about this. If you are a regular viewer, you never saw me wear this because by the time I had actually finished weaving in the last end, I was so sick to death of this project that it has not been blocked, or it had not been blocked until yesterday. When I was blocking that, I thought, you know what? Let me just finally get this blocked and try it on once and for all and see where we stand. And it turned out to be quite beautiful. This is the Garter Glide Tee by James N. Watts, to be precise. I really like the way it wet blocked. Wet blocking is the equivalent of magic. If you are a new knitter, when I was a baby, like knitter, crocheter, I had no idea that wet blocking was even a thing, and it blows my mind. It just absolutely blows my mind every time. Like, knitting is just such a contracted, condensed thing before it is forced to soak up that water and relax. And the before and after trying it on was just night and day. So I really like the amount of ease in this. I really like the drape. I love the length. I think it just turned out beautifully. What I was not certain about was the neck. I was wondering if I should leave the neck as is, like very raw, because I like the rawness of this garment. You know, it's a very unfinished kind of look. I love how casual, and I love the way it looks with this particular fiber, which is a silk blend. I love, the high-low hem. I don't remember if I just did that or if that was part of the pattern. I don't remember actually. But I was not sure if I needed to do the pick up and knit around the neck. And that's what I was waiting to wet block it. And now that it has been, I definitely do. I feel like it's just too wide. It kind of just looks sloppy. It doesn't look unfinished in like a intentional cool kind of way. It looks unfinished, period. So I'm definitely going to have to revisit this project. Back to the theme, we have these never-ending summer projects. I don't know what it is. I think it just might be these two projects. Maybe there are others that would have really felt like that fun summer palette cleanser, but these certainly have been anything but. It's like being force-fed is what it feels like. So I'm going to pick up and knit the collar. I don't know if I'm going to do it in this yarn or in this solid color. I'm leaning towards this solid color so that it looks more, like the V and this front panel stripe are in the same, and then the rest is in one color. I want it to look, cohesive as a garment. I wish the whole thing had been this color and I didn't have to do this, but I was worried I was going to run out of yarn. But I think it blends pretty well, so I don't think it's terrible. I do feel like I need to be cautious about hitting that sweet spot between it being too open and then too closed. I really do like open necklines, so I just need to make sure I hit that sweet spot, which again, I swear, if that involves another wet blocking and another X, Y, and Z, I'm gonna lose my mind. But I'm too close to the finish line with this to stop. I must get it over the edge. And the saving grace is both of these projects are great layering pieces for the cooler months. So I don't think there's like an end point to my wearing this. So those are the two summer projects that have been this one was really a slog. I was just determined to finish it, so I made it through, but by the end I was so done. This one hasn't been that bad, and I really love this color and this yarn, and I love this piece. It's like a basic that I know I'm going to use and use and use. So it'll be worth it at the end. It's just, I just, really wanted it to be done, and I feel like I've had a halting progression at best. So those two tops. I will be very happy to have those in the finished pile in my closet. I'll feel like I've made a ton of progress with my works in progress if I finish those. I did want to show you this real quick because I finished it and then I forgot, or I didn't forget, but I didn't have time to show you. And I have not woven in any of the ends, but whatever. This is my little sock that I was making. This was the one that I cast on right after I cast on the socks I was making this summer in my effort to become a sock knitter. These socks were an attempt at taking all the things I learned from my first sock and implementing them to see if I could finally get my own perfect sock dimensions. And I do feel like this is super close to perfect for me. This answers the question, can I ever make a sock that is actually tight like a store-bought sock? And the answer is yes. This is, I believe, the small size 56 stitches on a size, I want to say US 1 needle. And this is finally like actually snug. In fact, it's a little hard to get over my heel, but then it actually stays up in my silly, tiny stick ankle and calf. So I'm actually really, really happy. It was so fun to turn the heel again with the shadow wrap heel. That's what I used. I find it to be incredibly seamless and easy. And I really don't know, unless I was doing like a completely different sock pattern, like a toe up, this heel just feels so intuitive and it fits so well, and I like it so much that I don't see a reason to mess with other heels. Yeah, it was really fun to have learned stuff from the first sock experiment that I could execute and make this whole thing a lot more enjoyable. I have cast on the second sock. It is in my purse, bag, whatever, that I take everywhere because it is just such a great, doesn't take up any space in my bag because sometimes I just have so much stuff and I don't want another big project, even like a tank top. The sock is so small, it's just perfect. I love it. I'm gonna take it on our trip this weekend as one of my 2 projects because it's just a fun, easy, like working on the leg portion. It's just so relaxing. By the way, if you don't remember, this is Hedgehog Fibers and there's sock yarn in the colorway Oyster. I just think it's so, so, so gorgeous. It's this gorgeous, shrimpy pink, like cooked shrimp. That's what it reminds me of. And it has really pretty neon speckles. And then, of course, the black, more dominant speckles just are such a lovely contrast. My daughter fell in love with these, but they didn't fit her well, so I need to make her something in a really fun yarn. I don't know if it'll be a hat or socks or what, but yeah, I'm so happy about these. I can't wait to have them. They're so comfortable, they're so beautiful, and I'm very proud of them. It's just really challenging to get socks to fit really well. Okay, we are zooming along. I'm really trying to keep this. I always say I'm going to keep it short, and then I just ramble on, and it drives myself crazy. I drive myself crazy. One last thing I did want to share with you is the perpetual question of travel knitting, right? Like, if you have been with me for a while, anytime I have travels coming up, it takes me so much mental energy, and let's be honest, it's the best at mental energy. It's like the kind of mental energy when you're putting together color palettes. It's good problems. It's not like, oh, what am I going to cook for dinner for the 80th millionth time? It's the fun projects, fun problems. I finally settled because here's the deal. We are going to Philadelphia to visit my husband, who has been out there for weeks. I'm so excited. You know, from previous travels of his, I have realized like it's really hard to go that whole time, but if we could break it up, and this time it just worked out that Labor Day was coming up so that the kids had a day off of school. And he is in a place that's really like I really would love to visit, which is Philadelphia. I've never been to Philadelphia. I really have always wanted to go. I find the East Coast to be really magical, and like there's just so much of the East Coast I haven't done, and it's so beautiful and fun, and I am really excited to go there. So that's where we're headed. So that is a pretty long flight from Colorado. So I am taking my plane knitting very seriously. Now, those of us who are knitting obsessed know that being caught on a plane knitting is like the best thing that ever could happen to a knitter, because it's captive time where we don't have the option to get up and take care of other things that need to be done in our lives, like work or kids or laundry or cleaning or whatever it is. You cannot do it. You have to sit there and knit. And like a good knitter, we will take you up on that. So I definitely wanted a small project because I'm trying to carry on only for this trip, which we will report back. I don't know how that's going to go. I am not a light packer, so we'll see if I can rise to the challenge of just carrying on, because my husband said at the Philadelphia airport, they were like losing bags right and left, and I just don't want to deal with that. So I needed a small project. I really wanted to take my cabled cardigan and work on the sleeves, because that would be incredible focus time to get a sleeve done. But that is a large worsted weight project that is big now, and I just cannot carry that around. So it was like, what small thing was I going to make? After much deliberation, I finally landed on the traveler hat. I've wanted to make this hat since it came out. I love Andrea Mowry's traveler collection. I love the simplicity of that pattern. It's just, shoot, I wish I had my traveler shawl to show you, because it's so beautiful. All it is like purl ridges and knit rows and purl ridges and knit rows, and it creates just like these very, like the texture of it looks beautiful. It's simple. And in this hat, I really like it because it's different than normal beanies. It's the shape, it feels like a little bit wider, and I really like, I have a very long face, so I like when I can add the illusion of width at the top. I feel like it balances out my face a little bit. So I've been wanting to make this hat for a while, and this is finally my chance to do it. It was really hard for me to commit to yarn. So in this hat pattern, I love it. I think it's so, so lovely when she or any other pattern designer does this. She gives you fingering weight instructions and worsted weight instructions, which I love. It gives you more flexibility, because a fingering weight hat is very different than a worsted weight hat. They knit up at a different pace. And then you've got a project that you paid for, a pattern that is, that you can have fun kind of exploring in different ways and maybe get multiple uses out of. So I think it would, if this turns out great, it would be a great pattern for holiday knitting for those of you who are very generous. I'm not one of those people. But if you like to gift knit, I think it would give you more options out of this one pattern, and it wouldn't get super boring. Anyway, what I decided to do was turn this into a little more of a stash buster, because I have so much fingering weight yarn that I had a old project that I didn't like, and I ripped out a bunch, and so it was already held double. So like, obviously you can tell I ripped this out and it's wound by hand, but it's already held double. So to me, this is like a DK. But hats are very flexible. Ribbing is very stretchy. This is a superwash yarn. So all that is going to be fine. So I am following the worsted weight instructions, but I did drop down to a US size 6 needle rather than a 7 as recommended in the pattern, because I tend to be a loose knitter, and apparently I have a pinhead and all hats tend to be very loose on me. So I cast on the adult small worsted weight on US size 6 for all the details. There you go. I'm obsessed with this colorway. I cast it on because I wanted to ensure that I was like, had kind of gotten over that hump. I cannot tell you the number of times I've cast on a hat and then I've joined in the round and it's twisted. I didn't want that to be happening to me on the plane. I wanted to be like purely a joyful knitting moment on the plane. So I cast this on a few days ago just to make sure it was all in the up and up. And I think it's the perfect thing, because this yarn is giving me life in a way that none of my other projects are. Everything I'm knitting is sort of like more rustic or, solid in color. And it's just so fun to knit with these speckles, these bright, fun, joyful speckles. Hedgehog fibers, that's my favorite place to go for colorful, vibrant sock yarn. I mean, no one does speckles like her. I'm a broken record, but I will stand by that statement. I don't think there's a single other yarn dyer that I think does speckles quite as well as she does. And I don't know, I am loving this. I truly do not remember what this colorway is called because I bought this years ago before I even knew how to knit. It was a crochet project that I ripped out. I want to say Genie is the colorway. I don't know. But I have this whole bag of similar kind of colors, and once I run out of this, I'll just add the next one, and I don't know how far this is going to get me, but I am excited. I feel like this hat plus the second sock is going to take me through this long weekend of travel knitting. So that is my exciting new plain cast on, and I feel like I read a lot of reviews on Ravelry saying that this project just was super fast and easy and fun, so I'm hopeful. I definitely want to make sure I make the body of the hat long enough so that it doesn't fit like a skull cap and that there's more room at the top, because when I've seen pictures, I like it better when there's more room right here at the crown rather than it just finishing really tight to the head. So that is going to be my goal. Now, that's always hard to gauge, as you go, but I don't know. I'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. So that's that. That's all the knitting content I have for you guys today. Look at me, under 30 minutes. Boom. Non-knitting life and books. I have to share a funny thing about this book I'm reading. I love this author. Her name is J. Courtney Sullivan. She wrote a book I really enjoyed reading a few years ago called Friends and Strangers. I really, really enjoyed that book. So when I saw this summer that she had released a new book and it looked like a really good summer read, it was high on my list. And after I finished whatever I read last, I thought, with summer winding down, like, what do I want my last summer reads to be? And I saw this book on my Libro FM. I have a wish list. That's how I kind of keep track of the books I want to read. And it's called The Cliffs. So I was thrilled. I downloaded it and started it, and it was pretty compelling. But then I feel like it just became so incredibly depressing. And if you guys know me and listen to my book reviews, the more depressing, the better. I am all for serious, heavy reads. I do not need light, frothy reads, but this was depressing in a way that bordered on the character feeling like they were wallowing. Like, I just felt like the author was just belaboring the points of her misery to just an unnecessary degree. And this was hours into the book, like 5 hours into the book, at which point I'm like, okay, this is literally depressing me. I am ending up feeling depressed about this. This is not how I want to spend my time, especially because, you know, when my husband's gone and I'm single parenting, I need to be in a positive frame of mind. I need to be like keeping up my momentum and not feeling like my boots are filled with mud, is what this was making me feel like. Anyway, and then lo and behold, I thought, okay, I'm giving this book 15 more minutes. And in that 15 minutes, a completely different character comes on the scene that we haven't met, and the voice completely changes, and she begins her part of the story. And it was so absorbing and compelling, and instantly I was like so relieved that like this is what I was hoping this read would be. And that just shifted the whole focus of the book, and it finally felt like, okay, we're getting to it now. Which just, I feel like the hand of a strong editor was needed in this book, that we could have just chopped so much of this top part out and moved it a lot quicker and kept the story going, which is a pet peeve of mine, which is ironic because I'm very long-winded, as y'all know. But I don't know, with books, you gotta really be brutal and cut that stuff out. So alas, I'm glad I stuck with it. I will not recommend it yet because I have not reached the end. I have not finished this book, and it would have to end with quite a bang for me to recommend it to overcome the beginning. So just patience, and I will let you know next week. I will definitely have finished it by then, but I will report back. The other thing I just got this morning on Libby, which I feel like my Libby list has been languishing and nothing coming through has been clicking, but Miranda July is an author, new to me. I've never read any of her things, and that is such a fabulous name, by the way. It sounds so like made up. It must be a pen name. I don't know. But it's called All Fours, and it sounds like an interesting read. So I will see if I like that. But I was thrilled to get a book on Libby because I feel like I haven't been able to find anything on there that I've wanted to read. And of course, I would rather rent a book from the library than buy it. So that is an update on my reading life. As far as life, I have to say, the minute I say this, the sky's going to fall down around me, but I think I might be doing well. I feel like the constant, like I'm like here and I feel like I live in a hurricane or a tornado. And maybe it's not that anything has changed. It's just I've gotten comfortable living in the eye of the storm, and it's actually kind of breezy and pleasant. Like feel like I'm riding the waves of everybody else's stuff better because it's so relentless that I can't let myself get too caught up anymore. I just like, here, bring it. What else you got? You know, it's can't get me down. I'm just gonna keep on knitting and supporting everybody and keeping my wits about me. So I feel good right now, and I'm really looking forward to seeing my husband and being together, the four of us. It's just, the gang's back together. I'll be so happy to be together again. It'll feel right. So I'm really excited about that. If you've ever traveled to Philadelphia or are very familiar with Philadelphia and you have any recommendation of any sort, please send them my way. I mean, other than like go to the art museum or the obvious things I have covered, but if there's anything cool, like an amazing pizza place would be a very welcome recommendation, please send them my way. I am really looking forward to getting out of this town and this state for one hot second. And I think the weather is going to be really nice. So fingers crossed. Okay, y'all, this is what passes as a mini episode around here. Stay tuned for next week because I have the most exciting thing to share with you, and I'm beyond excited about it. And it's a miracle that I'm not talking about it now, but I really don't have time. So cliffhanger, come back next week, next Friday for my exciting thing to share with you then. Okay. All right. Happy knitting. I will see you in September. If you can believe, I cannot believe September is right around the corner. I do feel like August dragged a little bit. Even though normally when life is crazy, it goes by fast, I feel like August dragged on a lot. So anyway, I will talk to you then. All right. Bye, y'all.